It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to singer-songwriter Kalsey Kulyk with a performance by Kalsey. And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience, to the weekly show. I am your host, David J. Maloney. I say normally because we would usually shoot the show before a small studio audience at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. But like a few other talk shows, we're still shooting from home due to coronavirus concerns. Before I start my monologue, on behalf of everyone who works on the show, I'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to the victims of Hurricane Sally and Delta. My home was surrounded by surge and Sally. In fact, it got within 1 inch of coming inside. Hurricane Ivan put 6 feet of surge in our home, and it took us over 2 years to get back in. So I know firsthand what a lot of people all over the Gulf Coast are going through right now. Just know that you're in our thoughts and prayers, and if your insurance company treats you unfairly, well, I'm not difficult to reach. So, sadly, Roberta McCain, the mother of late Senator John McCain, just passed away at the age of 108. President Trump reacted, calling Mrs. McCain a loser. He went on to say he likes people who live to 109. And Trump has reversed course on ending stimulus talks with Democrats. When asked if he's sending mixed messages, Trump said, yes and no. Following Tuesday's Supreme Court confirmation hearing, President Trump said Amy Coney Barrett was born for this position, which ironically is the same thing he said about Stormy Daniels. As you may have heard, Trump was given steroids after he contracted the coronavirus. Gee, I sure hope they don't give him a big head. Oh, and Aria DiMezzo, a transsexual Satanist anarchist, is the Republican nominee for sheriff in Cheshire County, New Hampshire. Now, she's a unique candidate because most transsexual Satanist anarchists typically run as independents. And Facebook has just banned QAnon. In response, Q says it's a conspiracy. Lastly, a belated happy birthday to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is now 31. Sadly, her birthday party was ruined when her presents were all redistributed amongst all of her guests. On tonight's show, we have a very special guest. She started out singing country music with her mom in Canada and now finds herself with a burgeoning career here in the States. She's been featured on CMT's Artist Discovery program with her hit Damn You Love, and her other hit song, Who I Was, has reached Canadian country radio's top 40. She may even sing a song for us during her interview today, so stick around and we'll be right back with Kalsey Kulyk. And we are back. She started out singing country music with her mom in Canada and now finds herself with a blossoming career right here in the States. She's been featured on CMT's Artist Discovery program with her hit Damn You Love, and her other hit song, Who I Was, has reached Canadian country radio's top 40. Please welcome to the show country artist Kalsey Kulyk. Kalsey, welcome.
Hey, David. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, you've got such a great story, which has surprised me the more I learn about it. Let's start at the beginning. Where were you born and how did you first get your start in singing and performing?
So I was born in Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, which is about 3.5 hours northeast of Saskatoon. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Only one radio station that only played country music. So I grew up pretty much, my family, they loved music. My grandpa was in a band when he was younger. My mom, she just sang all the time. And so I guess music was really a part of me as soon as I was pretty much in the womb. I started singing at 2.5. My first performance was at 3 years old. And I pretty much have been doing it ever since then.
Now, you've been in the States for a little while now, so you've been exposed to small town America as well as small town Canada. What are some of the similarities that you find in them? And do you see differences?
You know what? Actually, I don't really see differences. It's kind of interesting because, when I first moved to Nashville, I had a bunch of group of friends, and they'd always bug me about being Canadian because they're like, "Oh, well, that's not country." And I'm like, "No. My grandpa had a buffalo ranch, and he had a farmer's field. Both grandparents were farmers. Like I grew up super country, and it's funny too because I've definitely played like a lot of theater shows, especially in Middle Tennessee area, because that's where I moved to, was Nashville about 4 years ago, and I've been playing in and around there since I've moved there. And going to these different places, it's very similar. It honestly reminds me of home a bunch. Everybody's super wholesome and super friendly and very welcoming.
Let's talk about something I never would have guessed after seeing you and hearing your voice. But you're a cancer survivor.
Yes.
Tell us about that, and how did you find out, and what was that time in your life like?
Yeah. So when I was 17, it was my grade 12 year. In I think April, I started to get really sick, and I was doing music this whole time, by the way. So like, from 3 years old, I was doing competitions every weekend and traveling and doing fairs and all that sort of thing, talent shows. And, when I got to grade 12, I was kind of like, okay, well, am I going to follow my dreams? Am I going to be a singer? Am I going to go to school and become a nurse or something like that? And then I started getting sick, and, we went, to doctors after doctors, and I was a really healthy person up until then. There was never really anything wrong with me. And then, I started getting sick, and the doctors didn't really know what was going on. And so 2 months after, a bunch of tests, the doctors found that there was cancer in my lymph nodes. So it was called Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when you're 17 years old, that's definitely a big pill to swallow. But it's also a lot of perspective, and it changes you for 100% the better. I obviously decided right then and there that I was going to do what I love for the rest of my life. I was going to go after music. I was going to chase my dreams. I was going to, sing for people who don't always have a voice and need one. So that's kind of when I really decided that I was going to go after my dreams and never look back. So it was definitely a huge learning experience. It made me a lot more appreciative of life and the people that I want to spend my time with.
Now, you've said before that your parents' divorce taught you a lot, and especially about music. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so when I was 7, my mom and dad separated, and my dad, he was kind of like a very quiet, unemotional guy, like didn't really talk, much about his feelings, like most men, and my dad was turning on the radio one day he put in a CD this one day, and he never took the CD out, and he kept on playing this one song on repeat. It was Nobody Knows It But Me, which is an older country song. I think it was in the 90s. I can't remember the artist. Oh, Kevin Sharp was the artist of that song. And actually, he had cancer as well, too. But my dad always used to sing this song whenever we were driving in the vehicle and sing along with Kevin Sharp. And I remember thinking to myself, it was kind of my first aha moment of what music can do for people, because, my dad never talked about his feelings, but I knew exactly what he was feeling by listening to that song, Nobody Knows It But Me. And that was just kind of my first aha moment of why and how I wanted to do music.
Now, one of your defining qualities as an artist is your honesty in your lyrics. Does some of your honesty, what do you say, some of that honesty comes from those experiences?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I always try to write from a place that's real. My whole record that I released last year in August was my dream record to make, because it was just honest. It talked about, real life things. I felt like it was relatable, obviously to me, but relatable to a lot of other people as well. And it wasn't trying to be anything else than honest. So whenever I'm writing, I always try to write about experiences that I've had, or experiences that people I know have had that I've kind of, been emotionally involved in. So definitely when I write, I always try to write from that real, honest place, because I feel that that's what country music is all about too.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the album that you've got coming out. We'll be right back with Kalsey. And we are back with Kalsey Kulyk. So you've got your fantastic self-titled debut album out now. What was it like making that?
It was amazing. You know, my producer, Orrin Thornton, I kind of got involved with him through like, you know, a friend of a friend was like, hey, I think this guy would be able to produce your record really well. And, you know, I met him, and I've worked with many producers over the span of my life, and I just knew that he was going to be the person that, like, he worked so well with me. And, you know, I had a lot of creative control in the production of my sound, and it was just an incredible experience, because I remember the first song that we recorded was my song Roll With It. And that was a song that I wrote solely by myself. And I was like, I had that song in my back burner for about 2 years before we started recording. And I remember being so nervous because everybody loved that song. Whenever I played it out, people just loved it. And I was so nervous to produce it because I was like, oh man, like I hope it turns out as great as I want it to. And I remember when we first started recording it, all that feeling hit me, and I was like, yes, this is exactly how I wanted it to be recorded and produced. And, you know, I always tell people that this was the record that I've been wanting to make since I was 16 years old.
So you've got 7 songs on the album.
Yep.
Do you have a personal favorite? I know it's tough. When I've spoken with other artists, it's tough to choose which child is your favorite.
One of my favorite ones to talk about is my song Damn You Love. And I wrote that with Phil Barton and Liz Rose. And Liz Rose had been she'd been on my bucket list since I was 16 years old to write with. I remember I was driving with my mom to go get my braces changed, actually, and this Taylor Swift song came on the radio, Tim McGraw, the Taylor Swift song, Tim McGraw. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And so I went and bought a record and listened to all these songs, and I kept on seeing the writer's credit as Liz Rose. You know, when I was able to get in a room with her, it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
And we've got a clip of Damn You Love, which we're going to play a little part of right now. And then I want to talk to you a little bit more about it.
Well, I've got scars to prove that you're no good for me. You never live up to who you're supposed to be. I run from you, but never fast enough. Damn you, love.
So when I first listened to Damn You Love, I immediately thought of like 90s country music. Your voice has a quality that lends itself to that.
Thank you.
Do you admire any of those 90s country artists?
Yeah, I definitely grew up. Obviously, I grew up a 90s country baby. And so, I mean, I love Shania Twain, Leanne Womack, Alison Krauss, the Dixie Chicks, Faith Hill, Martina McBride. I mean, all of those ladies that were Trisha Yearwood, like all of them that were in the 90s country music scene. And they absolutely helped mold the artist that I am today.
Now, you've been having this guitar weighing on your lap through this entire interview. So I know that you've got something that you wanted to share with us. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that now. What song do you want to share with us today?
Yeah, you know, actually, I'm going to do one of my songs off the record. And I'm going to do, it's called Low Times and High Heels. Another night that you ain't with me, so I dress it up and make it fine look easy. Makeup, hair down, but what you don't see is all the breaking, all the hurt in my eyes, the barely breathing, barely getting by. Yeah, statistics show that all alone looks better with a smile. So it's low times in high heels. Low times in high heels. Make you think I'm tall to disguise the way I feel. it's real. These low times in high heels. Well, pain is beauty, Mama would say. Hide your tears, do whatever it takes. Makeup, hair down, honey, it's just heartbreak. Well, I was never one thinking twice, 'cause jumping in sure feels nice. Always kinda like the way a new thing shines. How you think it's how I alone times in high heels. Alone times in high heels. Make you think I'm taller to the skies the way I feel. It's real. These low times in high heels. So put it on like there's nothing wrong, baby. Move along like it don't even faze me. Put it on, baby. Low times in high heels. Low times in high heels. Make you think I'm tired to the skies the way I feel. It's real. These low times in high heels. Make you think I'm taller to the skies the way I feel. It's real. These are low times in high heels.
I got to be the only one who claps on this. These are those moments when I miss having a studio audience. Wow, that was just fantastic.
Thank you.
I got my own private concert, although we'll now get to share it with the world. So now you've recently gotten married, and
Yes.
I believe your husband and you guys have basically been living your life on the road, right?
Yes, we have. So ever since the pandemic hit, so we were in Nashville, but then we decided to come back to Canada because we couldn't play any shows down in the States because of all the restrictions, right? So there was no way for us to make money, and we really couldn't afford to live down there with those opportunities being gone. And so we came back up to Canada. We built out a van, a Ford Transit van. The inside's like a home. So we have a kitchen, a little studio area where actually my husband recorded his vocals for his brand new record. We have a bed, we have a toilet, and then we drive around. So we've done, our van was done about a month and a half ago. And since then we've played 20 shows all across Canada. And we're actually going to be coming back down to the States in actually a couple of weeks. And we're going to start playing shows down there and going across all of North America.
That's just such a nifty story of being able to drive in and then just boom on top of your, because basically you've made a tour van, but
Yeah.
you've put the stage on top of the tour van.
People can actually go and book. They can go follow us on social media at Love on the Road Official. So we have an Instagram and Facebook page, and then we also have a website where people can book shows at loveontheroad.ca.
How has being married changed the type of lyrics you're currently writing?
I'm the type of songwriter that I really have like a deep well of sadness to pull from. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm always able to open that can of worms. But I've definitely been writing a lot more happy love songs than I ever have in my whole entire life. So it's definitely changed. I'm more kind of leaning towards the happiness than the sadness, which is, that's a good thing.
Well, and on that note, we are going to close the show out with Who I Was. And tell us a little bit about what that song means, what it meant to you when you wrote it, and then we'll close the show out. But go ahead, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Who I Was, I wrote that song with Jeff Trott, and Jeff Trott is the producer, and he writes songs with Sheryl Crow and produces her as well. So he's written Soak Up the Sun and If It Makes You Happy and all these major hits. And so when I went into the room with Jeff, I really didn't know what I was going to write about. I didn't have an idea, which is typically not like me because I always have ideas. And so we walked into the room and I was like, you know, we just chatted for about an hour, and then all of a sudden I started like getting this little guitar riff and I started singing, and we just wrote the song in like 45 minutes. And it was really an emotional song for me because I feel like throughout my life, I have definitely changed myself sometimes without really even meaning to, for people to like me more or for someone to love me more. And I think the main takeaway that I want people to get from this song is that you do not have to change who you are for anybody to love you, because, you know, who you are makes you unique and special, and that's what people should love about you. So that's the main takeaway I want people to get from who I was, and I really hope people really feel that when they listen to the lyrics.
Now, the version that we are going to close the show out with is just you and a piano.
Yeah.
Where was that shot?
So that was shot at the Meyer Horowitz Theater in Edmonton, Alberta. And it was actually for the Canadian Country Music Awards. I'm in this program called Sirius XM, Top of the Country, so it's with Sirius XM. And they have 8 artists that are kind of like, it's kind of like a competition, and whoever wins $25,000 and gets a bunch of exposure with Sirius XM. But that was shot for the Canadian Country Music Awards that just happened a few weeks ago. So it was a really cool experience because, I mean, we wrote that song on piano. So it was cool to be able to show everybody like really the organic version of how it was written and how it all came about. And I really think that version shows the emotion and exactly what I was trying to capture when we were writing the song.
Well, that song, it's really, really beautiful. And after the break, our audience, they're going to be able to get to see it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Kalsey Kulyk.
Thank you so much, David.
That is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Also, thank you to Kalsey Kulyk. She's going to close out the show with her hit song, Who I Was.
When I met you, it's like you stole all of my breath. Like a wildfire, you consumed me till there was nothing left. Played house for a while till you burned the whole house down. And I thought it was my fault, it was me who let us down. Thought it was love, but it wasn't. Guess I messed up on my judgment of it. Thought I needed you in my life, couldn't live without your touch. So I gave you who you wanted, but that wasn't who I was. That wasn't who I was. I kinda got lost in the way you made me feel. Hid my head under the sheets to hide my heart from what was real. No, you never wanted me, you just only saw yourself. Almost killed me if